Hey guys, how y'all doing? I hope y'all are doing amazing. Hope y'all having a blessed day. I hope y'all having the best day ever. I just want to come on and say, I went in, hearted everybody's comments. There's no way I could catch up. There's just no way. I was too far behind. I had medical things come up, and you know, like I said, I was out of pocket for a little bit. But I'm back. I'm okay. I'm safe. I'm back. I'm better. I'm good. But I did, you know, like I said, I dropped a video that I made yesterday morning, this morning, and we just missed y'all guys so much. And I clearly just, you know, wanted to come on for a minute and just kind of fill everybody in a little bit on some things that's going on. I had what I thought was going to be a simple thing done, and turned out to not be so simple. But that's life, right? It's something that we have to look at and think, okay, now we know, okay, these things, right? But the whole thing is that during this time that I've pretty much had to listen to my kids and leave the phone in the drawer and do what the doctor told me to do. Although it's been the hardest thing I had to do, I did it. And had a lot of time to think, a lot of time to really focus on things and focus more on these cases and just let my thoughts run wild, right? And try to just make any possibility for any case to see, you know, and just backtrack it and go over it. And, you know, the craziest thing is the case that we seem to talk about so much is Sebastian Rogers. And it's because we don't know the answers. We don't know the truth. We have our thoughts, right? We have our theories. We have our speculations. We have our opinions. But we really don't know the facts, like, of what happened to Sebastian. We don't know that. I think if we pay attention to the family, okay, in this case would have to be Seth Rogers, because we know the other two, the mother and the stepfather, they don't tell the truth. So we know that. And so we really have to kind of go with what Seth saw and thought on day one, right? It didn't make sense to him. He knew something wasn't right. Okay, well parents, when our gut tells us something, it's usually right? So we kind of have to go by what is his gut telling him. And he said from day one that she shoved the phone in his face, that he discovered that Sebastian's shoes were home, his phone was home, his backpack was home, his Nintendo Switch, he didn't take nothing with him but a so-called flashlight. So if we kind of listen to Seth, right, and Seth doesn't believe that child walked out of that front door, right? And law enforcement doesn't believe that child walked out of that front door. I don't care what anybody said. Law enforcement doesn't believe that. Law enforcement believe that this kid ran away. Don't you think that we would know that? Don't you think they would say, instead of going under the assumption, that they would say, hey, this child walked out the front door? No, they're not telling us that. They've told us they don't know how this kid got out of that home. They don't believe he got out of the home on his own. And that is what they've told us. That's all we got to go by. Except for the little Tinkerbell video, which of course Mama and Steppapa say that it has nothing, it has no meaning. But the other one, the other groups and the other people, of course, law enforcement looks at that video differently. They don't talk about that video. They defend that video, but they don't talk about the video. They don't let us know what we're looking at, right? But I think common sense tells you that it's two headlamps, right? They're stationary, so they're not moving. I can't wait to get this new stuff back. Should have it in the next week. And if it can give us a little more information. I know now that people are working on these things that we've been talking about it, which is amazing. You know, try to find the height of these lights. Try to find the size, you know, how quick they were moving. You know, like we know that the one that goes back to the home was running, right? We know it was moving. We know it jumped the ditch. I mean, this is something that person with the cameras even told us. The car parked directly across the street from his home, kind of by the mailbox. It triggered the security light, okay? And then the person ran back to the home, to that backyard, jumped that ditch, and vanished. Okay, well, we know it didn't go around the right of the home or it would have been caught on camera. It didn't go to the left side of the home to go out. It would have been caught on camera. So the only place that person could have gone would be in that backyard and in that back door. I mean, if you really look at it, I mean, it's laid out for us, right? Yes, we can't see anyone and we can't see any faces or anything of this nature, but yet we can see the movement of the people, okay? So if this means a few people that were involved, then that could clearly go with my theory that Kathy's the one that came out and went to the car, and that Katie, after Terry dropped off, ran back to the house. That is possible. We don't know if the person that came from the backyard is the same one that went back to the backyard, because they vanished off screen. So we can't clearly keep an eye on one of those individuals to see if that person is the same one. So it's possible it's 3 people. It's possible it's 4. But, I mean, someone was driving that vehicle, right? We know that. And we know that if it would have went out the front door, you know, we've played the clip plenty of times. We know what the stepfather told us. If somebody would have came out the front door, right? Remember what he said.
Been in by the front door, punched in the code. Believe it or not, no, it's not super clear, but you would have seen a shadow or a figure.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And based on, you know, something, one of the lights is still visible from that green camera from across the street.
There we go. Shout out to Smile as well for getting that. And, you know, I talked about that clip because I think that clip needs to be played over and over again. I wish I had a way to play it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, every minute of every day, and just keep playing that 20-second clip over and over and over and over and over again. Because that's his voice of Christopher Proudfoot telling us that nobody could have came to that front door, they would have been seen. Just like the trash, right? What is it? Katie says they were home around, 15 minutes, I think. 15 to 20 minutes whenever Sebastian allegedly took out the trash and then skipped back to the house. Well, Seth even said, I can't say that that's Sebastian. So for Katie to say law enforcement had confirmed that, I don't believe that. She's lying again. If law enforcement would have confirmed that, we would have saw this video. It would have been the last image of him. They'd have been like, look, here he is taking out the trash. Law enforcement didn't share the clip because they can't tell either. So if you can't make a positive ID, then that means you can't positively say that that was Sebastian, or if that was Katie, or if that was Kathy Bowersox. I don't think Kathy could do any skipping at her old age, but it's possible, I guess. So we have to kind of take that into consideration. That, you know, that Seth Rogers has told us from the beginning, you cannot tell. I've spoken to the neighbor. The neighbor told me personally, you can't tell who's in the video. It's too grainy. It is. It looks like, okay, take a TV that we had when we were kids, guys, and when you get 3 channels, you got to turn it to the right, you, or what, right? If the president was on, your whole day was shot, right? Because the president was going to be on all day. Remember those days? That kind of black and white style. You know when those TVs would get that little static and roll in it, right? And it would kind of look grayish, and you'd be mad. You'd be beating on the side of the TV, adjusting the antenna, trying to get a picture right. A lot of y'all are laughing right now because y'all know what we did. I did it too. I put a coat hanger in the damn thing. When the antenna broke off, I took coat hanger and stuffed it up all the way to the window. I know. I grew up with those old TVs too, believe me. And that's what it looks like. That's what the footage looks like. From what is explained to me is that you see some figure, a shadowy figure, go take the trash to the street and kind of skip. Well, I don't know if it's skipping or if it's hopping or whatever, but come back to the home in a little bit different manner than took the trash out, right? It wasn't the same walking pattern both ways. So, but no one is visible. You can just tell that it's dark clothing. You can't even tell if it's black clothing. It's just dark clothing. But what was Katie Proudfoot wearing when she left the roadhouse? All black. So you get my point is, how are we supposed to believe you when you've changed your story 5 or 6 times, woman? And you're good, and now we're going to believe you that that's him, and you're telling us that law enforcement confirmed that was Sebastian. I would like to see that, because I've never seen that. I mean, I see the game they're playing, right? We knew that they were going to get smarter as time went by. They've done that. They're still doing the threats and the BS, right? Which I think is childish, but that's just how they are. They're just childish people. And I just feel that they should. If you look at Jen Soto, how silent and shut up that woman is, right? That's how they should have been. Katie used to be silent. Now she's starting to be more vocal because I think she's gotten confident, but it took her over a year to get there. But the thing is show me the proof that law enforcement said that's Sebastian Rogers. We don't have that. It's nowhere out there. I've talked to people in that sheriff's office, in that police department. It's not out there. They're not saying that. They're not confirming anything. They don't even know how this kid got out of the home. There's no proof that this kid left on his own. They've told us this. And then you get the suspicious flashlight Tinkerbell video. That's not a coincidence that it happened right before, 3.5 hours before they reported him missing. It's not a coincidence, guys. To me, it's not. In my opinion, it's not. And I know these are my opinions. These are my thoughts. These are my free speech, and I'm entitled to it. And I'm going to use it. Because every case deserves us to stand up. Every case. From Nikki McCann, which there's nothing new. I've been looking for updates. There's nothing on Nikki McCann. Now, Suzanne Simpson, the case we're covering a lot. We searched for a lot. Judge decided to let everything stay in. Thank gosh. Amen. Right? Summer Wells, there's nothing new. Right? Sebastian Rogers, there's really nothing new. It's the same things. Like, law enforcement hasn't come out and given us a new update. We know that they went on this show, America's Most Wanted Missing Persons. But we know now, I'm wondering, when I sent all those emails into them with that recording and a bunch of other recordings of what some of the things that Christopher Proudfoot has said, the threats and the things and abuse and the threats to Seth, the threats to the PI, the threats to the mob crew, I sent all that in. And I said, hey, the guy that y'all had on y'all show, I want y'all to know who the true colors are of this person. That's why I did it. Because you know what? A tip is a tip. And when you have something that you think is a tip, send it in. To me, that's something that might help them. Because all we heard for the first year was negative. And I think the one that's going to mean the most powerful is the one for the front door camera, which I keep playing over and over. That one to me is very important because it's letting us know that in Christopher Proudfoot's mind, nobody came to that front door without being seen. So that means that he didn't leave that front door without being seen. We were not told by law enforcement that he looks like he walked out of the home at this particular time in the morning. Because they've never given a time. They just say 12 to 6. Y'all notice that, right? But 12 to 6, when she was supposed to be getting up at 12 on the couch, putting the dogs and everything up and going to bed, which I know didn't happen in seconds. So that means that a few minutes after 12, she was still up. But what about the light coming on at 11:30 that the neighbor saw with the silhouette in the window and then the light went off? Is that when she actually got up off the couch? I don't know that. But, I mean, we weren't there, we don't know. But we have to go by what they tell us. Which is why it's so important for the parents to come out here and beg for their children right away to get as much information as they can out. Well, we know in this case, Chris and Katie did not do that. They stayed silent. They didn't want to talk. And even law enforcement said, hey, we're telling you, we're relaying the message from them to y'all, but we're not telling you don't go after them. We're not telling you don't go try to get them on your camera. We're not telling y'all that. That law enforcement even wanted them to speak. I mean, law enforcement wanted them to talk. But the thing is law enforcement believed them. And I understand law enforcement is supposed to give everyone the benefit of the doubt. I get it. But look at the Maddie Soto case. That's what I'm trying to explain. See the difference? Same scenario, difference, inconsistencies. Now, the reason I think they didn't speak for 8 days to cameras because they didn't want the inconsistent stories, right? They didn't want to slip up and mess up and then law enforcement catch that early on. That's why they didn't go on camera to me. I don't think it has anything other than to do with they thought they were going to slip in front of law enforcement and that they were going to come bring the doors down on them. I think that's what they thought. And I mean, you got to remember, these are two military people, right? Served their country, fought for their country, supposedly give their lives for their country, but couldn't protect their own son, right? So to me, she must have not learned too much in the Navy as far as protecting your children and protecting your family, right? Like if Chris would have put half as much protection into Sebastian's life as he does his wife's life, Katie, if he would have protected Sebastian the same way, Sebastian would still be here. But we know that Chris didn't care for Sebastian. Sebastian was a burden. Sebastian was going to get him landed in jail. We see that, right? Like I said before, months and months ago, compare him to Chris Watts. Yes, they're the same. Compare him to Susan Smith. Yes, Katie's the same to me. It's just these attitudes. You know who Katie Proudfoot really reminds me of? I'm just going to say it. She reminds me of Chris Watts' mistress. That's who she reminds me of. That shadiness to her, that can't tell the truth if it came down and smacked you in the face type thing. That's how I see Katie Proudfoot. Only because of the inconsistent stories. And she keeps pushing the narrative of, which just lately, but Sunday, the day before he went missing. How are you so 100%? You heard a thud at 10 p.m. How you know he wasn't going out the house at 10 p.m.? You didn't go check on him. But then the news lady tells us 11 hours into the case, 11 hours, the very beginning of this case, within the first day that this child was reported missing, that news Kathleen lady said, she spoke to the parents, to the mother, and that he was last seen in the home at midnight and that he was a wanderer. He wasn't a runner, but that Katie said that he wandered. Okay, she didn't tell us that. You see the inconsistency? You see what I'm saying? That's why they didn't want to come out and speak. Because they knew the stories would come to be not lining up. Because they can't tell the same thing over and over. I don't know why. They just can't. They just can't seem to tell the truth, I think is what it is, in my opinion. But, allegedly, this child was supposed to have walked out that front door, according to mom and stepdad, the only way he could have left his front door. But yet, that's not the only way he could have left. He could have left the window. He could have left the back door. He could have left any way, out the garage. He could have left any other way. Why are you saying that he had to have gone out the front door? I think they tied themselves down to the front door in the beginning. And because of the key lock, I think that was their way of saying, yeah, he just went out and punched the code to lock the door back, which I don't believe that ever happened. Now, if somebody's running away, they're not going to lock the door. I don't think. And he walked out by his shoes anyway. But if we really think about that, they have pushed the front door only. Then they tried to take a debunked video by the sheriff's office, pay somebody $15,000 plus to try to fix this video up to where they could say that was Sebastian behind a car and a dog wasn't barking. Come on. That made no sense, right? I've said it before. Why aren't they breaking down the flashlight video? Because they don't have it. They only see what we see. The short clips. That's all they've seen in that video. I can almost bet you that's all they've seen, in my opinion, is what we've seen that Nick Barris dropped. I don't think law enforcement ever showed them that clip for a reason. If you don't show the parents of the missing child that particular video, that means you have doubt in them. That means you don't trust what they're telling you, right? If the law enforcement truly trusted them, don't you think they would have talked more about this flashlight video, guys? I mean, really? They would have. Law enforcement would have this plastered everywhere. This is the suspicious activity in the area. The video that you're not supposed to see. There's a reason Nick Barris titled that video that way, guys. This isn't Nick Barris's first rodeo. He's an educated man when it comes to news and media, right? He titled the video, the one they didn't want you to see. He knew they didn't want us to see that clip. But as news, they got rights. They can publish whatever they want if they grab it. That's what they do. They try to break the case. It's what they do. They try to throw anything out there for us to dig on. They know how public opinion and public people work. We want answers too. And we're willing to fight a lot harder. Law enforcement has a code. They have a law to go by. We don't have that law to go by. We could go dig up anything we want to dig up as long as we're willing to spend the money out of our own pocket for it. Law enforcement has a budget. They have to follow a certain procedure. And they knew they made a mistake. Eric Craddock let us know that he wasn't the brightest person in the room. He told us that. That was his way of saying, I know I messed up early on, but you know what? We're doing everything we can now to change that. And I know a lot of people give him a hard time. But you got to remember, they got the phone call from Chris and Katie telling them that their child, I don't know what they told them other than once they got there, we'll never know exactly the statement they gave them until arrests are done and court is over or whatever the case may be. Whenever the case is solved, that's when we'll find out. And I think if they would have released that now, it would probably blow all our minds. Just think about it. It would probably blow all our minds of what Katie actually told them that morning. I would like to know. But, you know, if we listen to Seth and we trust Seth's gut, being the father that pretty much raised his child, Sebastian's whole pretty much 15 years of his life until they had, of course, moved to Hendersonville. But in California, Seth was with them every day because Katie worked. But someone that knows his son better than any one of them three is Seth. And I know that he's been dragged in the mud, just like the other ones, and that's true because they're not cleared. And when you don't clear them, that's what happens. And they know this. Law enforcement knows this. They're not born yesterday. Bunky Vaughn, didn't they have to come out and defend the mama because she was getting shredded so bad? Have they done that in this case? No. They're just letting it go on, guys. They're letting us shred these people with the lies that they've told us. They're not stepping in to defend them because evidently the law enforcement's not defending Chris and Katie either. If they were defending them, they'd come out and say, yes, their alibi's checked out. Yes, they took lie detector tests. They have told us none of this. So, in my opinion, I don't think any of them have taken lie detector tests other than Seth because he did it on Nancy Grace. It was public. But as far as Katie, I don't believe she took one. Chris, I don't believe he took one. I don't think either one of them took a lie detector test, ever. I think their lawyer told them, nah, don't stand up in court. There's no point on doing that. And I think they wouldn't be getting warrants to that house if they had fully cooperated. Now, I get it. Law enforcement's going to say that because that's what they have to say. But if law enforcement 100% felt that Chris and Katie were being truthful, would Eric Craddock have said what he said on the 27th of February, the next day? Would he have said, his mother said all his shoes are accounted for. I'm not going to say he's barefooted. And then Ken standing right next to him, talking about the weather and the cold that was blowing in. We don't know what Sebastian's wearing. That's telling me something. That's telling me that they do not trust or believe anything Katie and Chris have told them. Why? Because the red flags go this way to me. Law enforcement. I got a lot of buddies in law enforcement. A lot. And I ask a lot of questions. Yes, I do. Maybe too many sometimes. I don't know. But I do ask a lot of questions. But the red flag being, put it this way, the way it was explained to me, 99.9998% of the time, if a parent is not home, is out of town, nowhere near that area whenever a child goes missing, they don't come to the aid in the defense so quickly. They don't come in and talk about all the negative things they've done to this child, like CPS with the belt and this, that, and the other, and diapers, and he gets some personal space, he's a liar. You know, they don't come in and do all this. And I think it threw so many red flags that Chris was telling them, oh, well, I bet Chris is doing most of the speaking for Katie. even with law enforcement. No matter if it's Bobby and Carter or whoever these people are, I don't think anybody would support them in a way that they think they're going to be supported. I think he just likes to threaten people, and he knows that people aren't scared of him, so he has to bring up other names. But then, like the PI said, I'm not worried about sitting down with Bobby and Carter. I mean, PI done nothing wrong. She's just trying to find the truth. But it's just all the threats, all the red flags, all these, like law enforcement tells me, no man is going to come defend a woman when he's been married 4 other times before. If he knew if he was not involved in this in any way, he'd have never came rushing to defend her aid. Never. And he wouldn't be answering all the questions. He wouldn't be the one talking most of the time. He wouldn't be the one clapping his hands saying, well, law enforcement, federal and state and Secret Service and FBI, and all these people viewed this video, and it's not flashlights. Bullshit. Let them tell us that. You don't need to speak for law enforcement. Let them tell us that. That's what I wait for. I wait for law enforcement to tell us. And they haven't. Law enforcement hasn't told us they took lie detector tests. Law enforcement hasn't told us that they're cleared, because they're not cleared. They've told us many times they're not cleared, except for the last one, which I think has important meaning, because he didn't come out and say anything of that nature. He just said, I'm not going to answer if we have persons of interest, which makes me think they've always had persons of interest from the start. Chris and Katie, I believe Chris, Katie, Terry, Kathy, and Melissa have been their suspects or their persons of interest, I feel, from the start of this. Don't think law enforcement don't know that family. Don't think FBI didn't figure that family out in a matter of minutes. They did. They know everything about that family. And Chris defended his family every time, got mad. They went to my mom's house. Well, yeah, they're going to go to her house. But they're only going to go to her house because of her past. Right? And we know Chris's mama has bought his way out of everything since he was a teenager. Okay? Happens in a lot of other cases as well. Happens in a lot of other places and states as well. A lot of mamas and daddies will bail their kid. Look at Stephen Stearns. Not saying that they're bailing him out, because I think the dad clearly thought that he did something in the beginning. Because when I listened to those clips of his dad doing an interview with the cops, his dad did not try to protect Stephen at all. He told them, he's always lied. He told them everything, right? He's an ex-cop, and that's his son. And he still had to tell the truth. And I think part of his dad's statements to law enforcement is what led them to really suspect him early on. I mean, if your dad doesn't trust you, why would law enforcement? And I think this is the same thing. I think law enforcement doesn't trust Katie. I think they did in the very beginning because they have to react as, you're telling me your kid vanished, he's not in his bedroom. We have to go search for this kid. But then that first day when they covered those 2,000 miles, that first day, they knew that child didn't leave that home. They're not stupid. And then when she made the comment that he was outside the search area in that first video she did, I think that raised a really big red flag to them. I think that's why they did the second push. Because if you remember, when she spoke, the search had already been scaled back. So if you realize that within a few weeks later, they did another push after she made that comment. And from what I hear now, that there's a few other targeted areas that they're working on, but they got to get warrants. They got to do these things. I'm telling you, eventually, all the Bowersox property will get searched, whether it's by drones, by warrants, somehow, some way. They're going to search every property that that woman and family has ever had in their names. I can almost bet you. Because they're looking high and low. They're trying to find the one piece of the puzzle they still need. Will they find it? I pray to God they do. But we don't know if they will. And that's what hurts. That's what hurts all of us, is we don't know if this case will ever be solved. But to God, it'll get solved. To us and the people, we don't know that. God has a plan for everyone. And if they're responsible for harming this child and making him vanish in any way, if Chris and Katie have anything to do with this at all, don't think God won't punish them. He will. Especially when you know, Sebastian's a special needs child. He's extra special. He needed extra love and extra care. But And it looked to me like every photo I've seen of this child and the way that he left that voicemail to his daddy, Sebastian Rogers had probably one of the biggest hearts for an autistic child you can imagine. Just his little soft-spoken voice. I can't imagine how Christopher Proudfoot could say what he said about this child. That about the belt, remember? Oh, he forgot the belt. He asked him, Sebastian, where's your belt? And I don't know, whack, remember? How could you do that? How could you put a hand on this child? When you hadn't even been in the child's life his whole life. Half his life, you said. But why are you saying half his life? His life is over? Is that what you're telling us? You've been in Sebastian Rogers half his life. Half his life? Why didn't you say like 7.5 years, 8 years? Why you have to say half of his natural life? What are you trying to tell us? Like, you know, I always look at every little thing they say as it could possibly be some form of a hint. Because they do slip a lot. And eventually, I pray to God the truth will come out. I do. Although I think the truth is already there. I think it's there. Because if we are to believe, look at that big old bird. Holy moly, that's a big white bird. Sorry to change the subject, guys, but you know, if we're to believe that, then how? I just don't know how we trust these people, because they've given us no reason to trust them, but they've done it themselves, right? They've given us no reason to believe them. When have they said anything that's 100% accurate? You know, so to just say if we're to believe them, if we're to believe him, if we're to believe Christopher Proudfoot on anything that he says, okay? If we're to believe him, then we have to believe him here.
Had been by the front door, punched in the code. Believe it or not, no, it's not super clear, but you would have seen a shadow or a figure.
See, there you go. You would have seen a shadowy figure at the front door, okay? If we're to believe him. So if we're to believe him, if we're to believe anything that this man says, then that means Sebastian could not have left the front door. That's what he's telling us. So make that make sense, right? Just like Summer Wells' case, same thing. Candace and that grandma know something. I think Don's the one that picked up Summer on the road, wrapped in a blanket. That's what I think. That's my thought. And I think that's why he made that creepy video last month or whatever, a couple months ago, where he's just pointing at that mountain across the way. You gotta remember, he knows that land like the back of his hand, right? He's a criminal, remember that. He's a criminal that liked to abuse children. CPS was involved, just like this case, CPS was involved. And I know Tennessee CPS, their people need to step up. I'm not saying they didn't in the Summer Wells case by taking the boys. They did a good job doing that, because they would have probably turned up next. Missing, most likely. So to me, I think Don and Candace have kind of slipped so many times and told us the truth as well. Theirs was always, they talked about her in past tense from the start, from the very first interview. So that's let me know right then and there they knew what happened, right? Whether they'll ever be able to get it out because of the ruleness of that area. Now that's a rural area. A lot of people try to say, Sebastian's parents, his mom and stepdad try to say they're not in that rule of an area. And at least that guy backed me up on America's Most Wanted Missing Persons. At least, like John Walsh's son said, what did he say? Hey, this is not rule like y'all think it is, right? I'd send an email to him out to their show before this even aired and let them know, hey, I sent a bunch of stuff into them. But he didn't get it all before. He got one email, the initial email I had sent in, he received a couple of days before production on this show. So he kind of only knew about the ruleness of the area, that, you know, that it's not that rule. The school is right there, right? Because I always said that school trip, at that drive that she took that morning, it's gonna be part of this whole investigation, right? Just like the flashlight Tinkerbell video, right? That's a big part of this case. And I think if we listen to the guy from Big Brother, right, that has his own pod, the ex-detective, he's worked with the FBI and stuff. If we go watch his show that he did on Sebastian, when he says, these are my opinions and what I think, right, he thinks that that flashlight video is the number one piece of evidence in this case. Just like we feel, just like I feel. I mean, I can't speak for all of y'all, but I mean, that's what I think. And I don't know. Hope the truth will come out, guys. But we're back. We're good. I posted one video this morning. I'm gonna post this one here, and then we're working on some stuff. Like I said, on some of the other updates, there's not much out there, but I need to get back to go through and start digging for updates and see what I can find for y'all guys and get back. But this, I'm glad to be back. Thank y'all. We missed y'all so much, guys. We love y'all so much. We appreciate y'all so much. I hope y'all are okay with me just hearting the comments. There was no way I was going to catch up, guys. There's just no way. But y'all know we love all y'all. And it's just, I just couldn't. And I'm going to have some time off because I can't go back to work for quite a little bit. So I'm going to be able to really focus on these cases and focus on trying to find the truth. And so with that said, Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers, he deserves the truth. Even law enforcement now is searching for the truth, and that's good. That makes me realize that this case has kind of flipped in a different direction. When they say they're searching for truth and we're all sitting here saying we just want the truth, it lets you know that they're kind of on the same page as us, in my opinion. But just remember, guys, trigger warnings times 100 million. Y'all's comments, y'all's and y'all's alone, not to reflect the channel. We do our research together because we are a big heart little family. And everyone is innocent until proven guilty in the court of law. Okay? We know that. I'm not here to try to throw anyone under a bus, or I'm not here to do that. I'm just here to state what's out there, how I see it, how I take it in, and what I think. It's just me. I'm entitled to my opinions, and I'm going to use them. I think everybody needs to use their opinions. In all these cases, all the missing, all the runaways, they all need us. They all need our hearts to be in their cases. And I think it's only fair that, we keep praying for these children every day. The one runaway, the girl that snuck out with the 40-year-old man, they just found her after, 4 months? She was found in a closet with no clothes on yesterday. That's heartbreaking. She had met this guy online, and he drove all the way from Colorado to pick her up. 11 hours, and then took her back, but she had to wear a mask everywhere. He made her shovel snow. He treated her like a slave. And he was a registered SA offender. Trigger one. And they found her because she had messaged a friend somehow, and they traced the IP address. Like I tell y'all, that case was solved due to an IP address. Didn't I tell y'all technology is so much better? And it's getting better every day? I think that's what's going to solve this case. I think somehow, some way, digital technology, Secret Service is going to eventually find it. And when they do find it, it's going to solve the Sebastian case. I believe digital, whether it be a vehicle used or some kind of digital evidence, is going to prove what happened in this case. I believe. I hope, I pray, because there's so many ways now that they can search cell phone data. I mean, my God, remember what I told y'all about how they can check the battery temperature and all these things, and then that just came out on a video about the Karen Reed trial? I'm sure y'all were shocked, but remember we talked about it a couple of months ago. This technology has gotten so much better. It can tell you if your phone's in your pocket, if it's in your purse. It's just crazy, right? Technology is unreal. So now that they can recover data, even if they don't have that phone anymore, that device anymore, now that they're able to do that, which just recently happened, okay, this Fitbit watch or whatever Katie was doing on her cell phone, that's all going to be known now. I mean, yeah, it takes months to get it all back, but it's all going to be known. And I reached out to someone that does this technology and asked him to look at it. I say, hey, just look into it. See if there's some way you can figure it out and get the information you need to look into it. And I don't know if they will or not. I hope they do. But I believe this case is solvable. I really do. I've always felt that it was. I've always felt that it was solvable. And I'm glad to see that it's still, his face and name are still being looked at and treated with respect, and everybody wants answers for this young child. There's a lot that are fading. I get it. There's a lot of people that are pulling on to other cases, right? You know, we got a lot of big stuff coming up. Stephen Stearns trial, Karen Reed trial, Idaho 4 trial, which Idaho 4 trial is going to take over everything. We know that. But I think it's a shut and close case. So I don't really need to even pay attention to that one. In my opinion, yes, I'm going to watch some of it, but I'm not going to watch a lot of that trial because pretty much with what we know already, it only points to one person. So, I don't know. I think that case, it's the ones that aren't solved to me is the ones that we need to focus on, right? I've always felt like the ones that are in court, that's good. They're getting justice. The ones that aren't, we need to keep pushing till we can get them to that stage, right? Like Suzanne Simpson case, we've been pushing because they're doing this without a body, right? And so now to know that the judge is going to allow all that in, thank God, right? I think this is shut close. Suzanne's, that 5-year-old daughter told on daddy, and that's it. That judge is going to take that little girl's statement because that little girl has no reason to lie about what she saw happen to her mama that morning or that night or morning or whatever it was. Why you would do that in front of your child, but he's just a sick individual. That's all it is. And like I said, the truth will come out, I feel. And as long as we just keep our focus on forward footsteps, right? Not backwards, forward. Keep digging in this case. Keep pushing the stuff that we know. Keep searching. Keep digging. I think that eventually someone's going to find the truth. And I hope to God it's law enforcement. I do. I know that the bureaucratic would feel a lot of relief if he could make arrests in this case. And I think he will eventually. Will it take a year, 5 years? I don't know. But eventually, this case will not go away in Hendersonville. This is their case in Hendersonville. This will be talked about for the next 20 years until it's solved, if that's what it takes. Hopefully it doesn't. God forbid, hopefully it doesn't. I hope that it's solved tomorrow. But, it's so hard. It's so hard to sit back and see the lies and not call them out, right? But there's a lot of people defending, of course, prophets. There's a lot of, I'm not going to necessarily say they're hate channels, but everybody's entitled to their own opinions, right? But y'all know me, I don't talk about other creators because it's not my place. Like, I have respect regardless. I might not agree, but it doesn't mean I need to talk about them. It doesn't mean I need to try to throw shadow or throw shades or anything at anyone. I'm not here to do that. YouTube is better than that to me, right? But it is what we make it. And that's why I try to stick with my cases. If I pull something from someone's channel or a video that they've done, I always give them credit for it. And I think that that's out of respect. As long as we respect each other out here, we can get these cases solved. We just need to have big hearts, guys. That's what it takes. Like all of us here at this channel, our little family channel, I know we small, but we all got some big hearts. And that's what's amazing to me. And that's why I felt so bad being out this many days, right? But Dr. Jordan's, but I was like, every day I wanted to just and I was like, no, I got to leave that phone. It was hard to leave that phone in the drawer, guys. Hard. But I did it. And I feel like I'm 10 months behind, although I know I'm not. I feel like that. But, we're back. We're going to get a few videos out today. I'm going to work on the other ones that I've finally uploaded on the computer that I had to get off the cloud. I'm going to start going through those and title those and start getting them onto the studio app and start getting some of that stuff out, the searches that we did last couple of weeks ago, and you know, that search when we got trapped in the water. And you know, I want to let a few of those videos go so y'all can see those, and we'll just keep pushing, guys. But we need to keep everyone in our prayers, guys. And you know, Maddie Soto case is heating up. I always told y'all Stern's gonna flip on Jen. You watch. Jen's gonna be beside him one of these days, sitting in the courtroom. In my opinion, that's what I think. I think eventually she's going to be arrested. I've always felt that way, because if you go back and listen to like her Fox News and all this, even on that other clip, she states that we dropped her off, we this, we that. And then she kind of corrects herself, but she did it on both different interviews. You don't keep saying we so many times if you're not really telling us the truth, right? Psychologically, she's on so much medicine that her lies just came out. And because her brain couldn't think quick enough because she was so medicined out, that she did tell to me a lot of the truth. And I know her theory is probably backwards of what I just said. Oh, I was too medicated to know. No. That's because your brain was telling the truth. Your brain knows how to tell the truth, believe me. It's a fight to tell a lie. Your brain has to fight. You have to fight with your brain to tell a lie. Right? So you think about how much Christopher Prophet has to fight with his brain? That little peanut brain he's got, I bet he has to fight with that little peanut brain every day to tell his lies. To me, that's my opinion, right? These are all my opinions, guys. And, you know, I mean, allegedly this child walked out of that front door when we, I think, understand that he didn't, right? In our opinions, he didn't. And I know that's what they say, allegedly, but I just don't see it. I just don't. I'm sorry. I don't see that. I see what he's telling on Smiley's World to be true. Hey, if you'd come to the front door, somebody would have came to my front door to push in the code or what have you, they would have been seen on camera, the neighbor's ring camera. I believe that, because that camera is pointed right there. I seen the camera. So, yeah. So you tell a lie 1 minute and you tell the truth the next minute. You see how your brain works? Like, the reason that he told the truth about the front door and the code and the camera catching it is because he was put in a corner like, hey, your house is not safe. So he had to defend his home. So that's why I say shout out to her for asking that question that way, because basically she put him in a spot to defend his house and protect his home. And so he did tell us the truth. And that's how I see it. He told us that this kid couldn't have got out that front door. Oh my God, 4 dogs coming. Anyway, who knows, guys? But just remember that, you know, justice for Sebastian Rogers is a must. Justice for all the missing, all the runaways. Keep them in our thoughts, keep them in our prayers. Just keep up the fight. Like I said, these are my thoughts, my opinions, my free speech. I'm entitled to it. Everyone's innocent until proven guilty in the court of law. So take that, you know, take it as a grain of salt and keep going. All right, guys. Anyway, y'all be safe, be good. We love y'all. Trigger warnings always. Talk soon, guys. Glad to be back. All right, bye.